Hello, everybody. We're back. It's Friday. It's September 10th, and we're doing robot, space, and nonsense. The best section of the news, I would say.
How exciting. Let's talk about some artificial intelligence. Now, this one, if you've watched CSI or NCIS or any one of those other
Enhance.
god-awful TV police dramas, you understood this kind of thing, you're probably like poking fun. It's like, oh, that doesn't really exist. Well, guess what?
Google's new AI photo upscaling tech is jaw-dropping. So you can go from those pixels to the other pixels. Look at that. That's just crazy.
Didn't Photoshop announce this recently, like 3 or 4 months ago?
Yes. The thing is that you really are not gaining the detail back in the photo. It's just filling it in with something that's plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not necessarily the same person. And the way it does it is it works in reverse. So it takes an image, it puts noise and stuff in it until it looks kind of like the image that it's looking for, and then it undoes that on the original image. Pretty brilliant. Look at these people. I wonder how long it'll take for that to be accidentally incorporated into the Clearview.
It's probably already happened.
Yeah. Though this, I mean, like I said, it's kind of a plus for me as a graphic designer because I get a lot of weird, blurry photos from clients.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be able to upscale them.
They'll send you that little postage stamp logo.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, fine. And then they'll be like, oh, it's a little different, but I like it.
Or no, that never happens. It's usually it's a little different and I don't like it.
That's if you do it. But when the AI does it, they love it.
It's perfect, yeah.
This is about GPT-3, and I will say that I think our AI dungeon session was more entertaining than what they came up with here.
Yes, I think so. That's true. I went to a play written by AI, and it was like looking in a circus mirror. So this is just a quick 30-minute play written by GPT-3. It was a couple of them, actually, a couple of different ones.
They iterated. Each night, like based on how bad it was, they tried to work around it. And this person went night 2.
Well, our old streams of AI Dungeon were definitely much more entertaining.
Yeah.
There was a plot line about like Willy Wonka, and then we stole Willy Wonka's face and wore it and became him.
Yeah, just Leatherface, just like Leatherface.
And our child trading.
We were able to escape punishment by the Oompa Loompas as a result of that.
Yeah, they thought we were his lords.
And that's the kind of thing we didn't set out to do.
But that's what happened. What was it?
GPT-3 is an amazing little toy.
It was Christmas. It was a Christmas theme map.
Yeah.
And that's what it came up with.
Self-driving. We had, which company was it? Was it Waymo that had the death? Remember when they had the driver in the seat?
Oh, yeah, they weren't paying attention. I don't know if that one really counts against the self-driving car or not.
This one definitely does.
That was almost a sneeze.
And you shouldn't suppress a sneeze. Let it out.
Stare into the light.
And
Bring it on.
the PR on this one is really, really bad because in some cases you might be like, well, this guy was blind. Can you really anticipate blind people? In this case, yes.
Yeah.
You absolutely could anticipate it.
Toyota pauses its Paralympic self-driving buses after one hits a visually impaired athlete. He was left with cuts and bruises after being hit by the e-pallet vehicle at the athlete's village.
Now, they had someone in the vehicle. I don't know if they were at a set of controls or not, but they asked him, they were like, hey, did you not see this guy in the crosswalk? And they were like, yeah, but we were so close, we thought that no sane person would walk in front of a bus. A blind person would, though. I bet it's completely silent, too, right?
Yeah, there's probably no engine.
Probably electric. So they're shutting that down completely. That's too much of an accident. Unfortunate.
Well, maybe they can scrap the chips out of it and get a few more cars made.
That'd be nice, yeah. Break down all those modules. And, they often, you got to wonder, if your product is so good, why would you sell it to somebody else? Why wouldn't you just use it to make your own stuff? So maybe Waymo's products are getting really, really good.
Waymo will stop selling its self-driving LiDAR sensors to other companies. That's the headline. But then the article talks about how like the CEO of that division is out and a new CEO is in. And the reason that the old CEO was out is because he wasn't commercializing what Waymo was doing quickly enough. But they're going to stop selling the sensors. That didn't make sense to me.
You think that might also have something to do with the chip shortage?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Could be.
Like they need them all for themselves. It's not about keeping the tech.
It's possible.
Though you'd think they would just say that, but
Yeah, but it's marketing speak, so.
yeah, it's many layers to get to the real truth.
Well, the space station, much like us, is getting old. And that's the kind of thing that, you really, not only do you want it to be rock solid in terms of performance, you want multiple layers of redundancy because there's no rescue operation there, which makes this very concerning.
New cracks found on the International Space Station. The Russians were doing a spacewalk and they noticed, these cracks have grown a bit.
It is in a module that hosts 2 habitation chambers and the oxygen system.
Also, not that important, right?
Yeah.
Also, are we now going to accuse Russia of making those cracks since they found them?
Well, actually, they probably did make those cracks because remember when they had the module that boosted out of time
Oh, yeah.
and pulled the station?
Oh,
That probably made the cracks. I'm not blaming the Russians here, but that seems like the most obvious one, right?
we're not, but I'm sure there'll be some sort of statement released soon where it's like, look what they did, and it's just Spider-Man pictures. Once again, just Russia and U.S. blaming each other.
It's Spider-Man pictures, but one of them has one of those fur hats.
Yeah. We've got the American flag as a cape and a cowboy hat.
Well, I've said this before. It is easy to look at what SpaceX is doing and assume that everybody can do that. But no,
No.
SpaceX is really, really good at what they're doing. And this helps to illustrate that.
The Astra rocket fails to reach space during tests for U.S. military. This is the one where it launched sideways. You might have seen that. Like I don't know,
Ooh.
strong winds or something. But that it was able to recover is really incredible. But because it recovered, it used a lot of fuel using that maneuver, and it could not quite reach the edge of space. The thing aborted at like Q30 or max Q, where it sort of reached its apex because parts of it were starting to break off.
Yeah, they lost a piece of the booster. I wonder if they throttled up to try to overcome.
It seems like that's what they were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still not awful, though. Like,
No, it's a decent result.
yeah.
What
like,
is-
They can refine based on what they learned there.
What is like the grasping strength of the butthole of the main engineer when he watches that sideways launch? Think he could cut diamonds?
I think that his heart probably stopped beating for a good second or two there.
How many millions have we spent on this?
Well, Japan has a new technology. It's not a new technology, but it's one that hasn't been tested all that much. And this is not for getting into space. This is for propulsion when you're already there.
Japan tests exploding rocket engine for the first time in space. I didn't really understand the mechanics of how this works, but it's a controlled explosion, a series of controlled explosions around a ring. So as the explosions happen, that is apparently a way more efficient way to expel matter out the back of something other than, traditional rocketry. So
The way I understood it is in a traditional solid fuel tube, you're going to burn it very rapidly, right? And you get one burn. I guess you can do more than one if you really try. But here you have these little individual pockets and they explode one at a time, not related to one another. But in sequence, they can create that thrust with much less fuel. So like
Is there a photo to better
a
illustrate it?
tiny little chunk of fuel, no. Futurism.com did not supply us with any photos. But it would probably be hard to photograph this in the test chamber.
I need a visual aid to fully understand
Just
that.
think of a pack of firecrackers crammed into one of those aluminum cans. That's basically what they're doing,
and it only explodes one at a time.
but very quickly. China, on the other hand, is looking at a different problem in space. So they're saying, okay, yeah, we're getting pretty good at getting up there, but what if we want to take a lot of stuff up there and make something really big?
China is researching the challenges of a kilometer-scale ultra-large spacecraft. Yes, that's right, a spacecraft that's 1,000 meters tip to stern.
What's it going to be? Well, listen to this insanity. Solar array with a microwave energy beam shooting back to... Well, didn't Asimov do a book about that?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Didn't go well.
Well, it didn't go well until we got an AI that was going to take everything over, and then we thought it was going to destroy the planet, but it didn't because the AI was self-aware enough to not destroy the
alert.
planet.
Spoiler alert. Richard Branson also had another launch this week, and unfortunately didn't go as well.
Virgin Galactic flights have been grounded over Bronson's spaceflight mishap.
Oh, I guess this didn't happen this week, did it?
This was the orbital flight. So they made the orbital flight, but there were all kinds of warnings and stuff in the thing. But the pilots were like, well, he's on board. Let's proceed on. And so the reason they've been grounded is because that's against procedure. If you got warning lights, you're not supposed to just keep going.
Wow, that was lucky, wasn't it, that nothing worse happened?
He looks super old in this picture.
Space isn't kind to your skin.
He looks like Joe Biden here. So yeah, they had a yellow warning light and then I think a red warning light, which people noticed when they were watching the stream. They were like, "Hey, is that important?" And they're like, "Nah, fine." So, hey guys, the check engine light is on.
It's like in Star Trek that he just reaches up and just pecks on it a few times. It's like, it's probably fine.
Just put a piece of paper over it, like the real check engine light.
So no more Virgin Galactic flights until the FAA is satisfied.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's an investigation of what happened.
Yikes. Moving on to nonsense, and yes, I put this in nonsense. I put this alongside with the battery stories. I believe it when I see it, but it does sound cool.
New AMD patent proposes teleportation to make quantum computing more efficient. So this is going to use quantum entanglement to get stuff from A to B, rather than actually transporting something from A to B, in order to get around the whole qubit density entropy thing. You see, you have that much organization on such a small scale, the entropy of the universe really, really does not want to, have that continue to exist.
We just had a horrific graphic driver crash. I'm sorry if that flashed in between the cameras there for a while. So this is predictive technology, akin to the cash prediction type stuff. What could go wrong here?
Well, it's still dependent on classical mechanics to know which one is correct, but it will instantaneously have the thing that it needs to do the calculation, but it won't know which calculation to use until the other part of the circuit tells it in a classically coherent way.
Right, and then so you could jump in, answer that question with some sort of exploit, and change the results.
At which point you open up a hole in the fabric of space-time.
And then the black hole gets in.
No, that's how it gets you.
Well, over in California, they have some serious environmental laws. And
I saw this headline and I was like, that can't be what it is.
It's exactly what it
It's
is.
exactly what it is.
We'll read the headline, but
They're consuming themselves at this point.
In California, college students are now officially considered an environmental menace. A local judge has ruled that UC Berkeley must freeze its enrollment so it can assess the ecological impact of its undergrads.
well, okay, so that is absurd. But having lived in a college town, can you guys say that life is not 100% better in the summer when it's not clogged up with students and traffic and their trash all over the campus?
And they make that argument, but not just that, Krista. It's also, if you think about, universities have to negotiate with whatever town they're in because they're going to add a massive drain on emergency services and road construction and stuff like that. I guess they handle that themselves. But these guys had to double their payment to the city.
Was Berkeley the origin of LSD?
It was definitely in that area. Right?
Was it?
Would that come up in the ecological impact? Like, if it wasn't for UC Berkeley, LSD probably wouldn't have been a thing.
Well, you think it's in the groundwater or something?
No, I mean, I'm just saying, it's like if you reach far enough back, that's some serious ecological impact from that higher education.
Is it? Wouldn't that make more hippies and more green warriors?
Oh, well, if you want to do that. I'm just talking about like the war on drugs and everything that sort of spun off from there. I mean, there were entire episodes of Dragnet about it's like, this isn't illegal yet. There's nothing we can do.
You're going to blame the war on drugs on Timothy Leary? I don't think so.
You know what they could do to change some of the impact a little bit? Make it so that campuses have better on-campus transportation.
Well,
I imagine Berkeley's probably pretty good, but the college I went to, they had one bus. And I memorized the bus schedule so I wouldn't have to walk in the cold, but it was so underutilized because there was only one and it took forever to get around campus.
So they bring that up and they didn't plan for that. And it turns out at some level, the war here is between city planners and university people. The university people want to expand in place. The city planners want them to move a satellite campus to another part of the town. And they cite the traffic as a big reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet that's awful there. I mean, it sounds absurd on the surface, but I kind of get it. Like, that many people condensed into one area can become problematic quickly when you're trying to plan services. Anyway.
They have to do like an ecological impact. Even a university has to submit an ecological impact document to the city. And their ecological impact document underestimated their number of students by a massive amount, like 10 or 15,000.
Yeah,
So-
that's going to create a demand on the water supply and the electric supply. And wow.
And what about the legal weed stores? What are they going to do? Because not only are they going to be overrun by students, but now a new portion of the world.
Well, then they have to make bigger parking lots, and then you have to bulldoze over more native plants, and you can't replace all those native plants in that one area because there's not enough space to do it when you have that many parking lots. And
Amazon had a different answer, which was to allow delivery drivers to smoke pot. That's okay. They're not going to screen for that anymore. You want to deliver for Amazon and you got kicked out because you couldn't pass your drug test? Well, no more.
Not only are they not going to screen for it, but Amazon is apparently, now this is, like they haven't done this publicly, but these people are claiming they are pressuring them to advertise that they're not going to do it. So it's like, be a driver. We don't care if you smoke weed.
I mean,
We're desperate for drivers.
they don't
So
care
desperate.
about whether you drink or not, as long as you're not drinking on the job.
Right,
I imagine pot's the same.
Yeah, there's no difference for sure. But it's just funny. And Amazon really has dropped the ball in terms of deliveries.
Yeah.
It's amazing how far they've fallen during the pandemic. And it's not amazing, I guess, but then you look at those numbers that they're bringing in. They're not putting any of it toward the drivers.
Yeah.
Just go back to UPS. NFTs continue to be ridiculous.
The original Doge meme sold as an NFT for $4 million, but now you can own a piece of it for less than $1.
Fractional NFTs. How wonderful is that?
That guy's going to make so much money.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So they bought it for $4 million, and they turned it into this new website, which is fractional.art. And they will sell you a useless thing.
They will sell you a useless thing that they bought for $4 million.
Now, they're not going to sell you that thing. They're going to
Just
sell
a
you
piece of
another
it.
useless thing
Yeah.
that's tangentially related to that useless thing, which still isn't the original thing. Yeah. It's a heady brew.
You will own nothing and be happy. Literally
Well,
own nothing.
But you'll own that Doge thing. You can look at it while you sit in your cot thinking about your life choices. So how do you feel about this? Who do fossils belong to?
Finders keepers?
Not here.
Not here.
Not in Brazil. How is it here in the U.S.?
I imagine the state of origin, right?
I think there are some different rules in different states, but here, if you find something on your land, it's yours.
Oh, that's not the case anymore.
You don't
Well,
think
they
For
that's-
for at least for Native American artifacts,
Oh, yeah,
you
that,
can't do
yeah.
that. But like, I think if
Wow.
it was something else, you probably could. But
Yeah, the geodes, that should still be true, and probably fossils.
yeah, but Native American artifacts,
Oh,
you can't just keep.
You know what? The same way that like the existing Native Americans now are probably fighting for that, Mark Zuckerberg should fight for this.
Police raid unearths a prehistoric flying reptile in remarkable condition. This stunning specimen found in Brazil is opening a window into pterosaur predictions going back 115 million years. So there's
The P is silent.
a pterosaur. Oh, yeah, because pterodactyl. Ah, I knew that.
We only got the one picture of him. He's pretty cool looking though.
Well, it's a mock-up.
No,
It's-
that's a real photo.
Really?
Sorry, it was just so easy to tease you for that.
But yeah, no one had ever had one of these, it says, in this kind of condition before, and they are super excited about it. But these people who owned it were doing like a black market fossil. How do you find customers for that? Where do you advertise?
Dinosaur enthusiasts who are also okay with like shady legal dealings.
Etsy.
Is there a Facebook ad category for people interested in dinosaur fossils?
That was when we went to Vegas. That was one of the things that was in Vegas. Is like there was a shop that's like, oh my gosh, you won $11 billion at the whatever. come look at all this weird stuff in the shop, and there was like pieces of meteors, and there were, skeletons, and they had dinosaurs. You could totally buy a skeletal thing of a dinosaur that was like, ready to go. It was wildly expensive.
Who is there a body that like confirms those and keeps track? A couple of those are probably just dogs.
Yeah.
Some of them are probably just fake, or things that have been glued together.
Well, this is a sad day. Doesn't really have a ton to do with tech, I'll admit, but it does echo into the current zeitgeist a bit, doesn't it?
It does. NPR has a write-up on the Sacklers, the family that made billions from OxyContin. They've won immunity from the opioid lawsuits. They also were pretty effective at moving all of the money out of their pharmaceutical company into their personal fortunes. They're going to be able to keep almost all of that.
And there's no matter what happens with opioids from here on out, they will never face prosecution. They call it global immunity.
Yeah.
That seems like why would we do that?
Because it's just they paid the judge a lot of money. I don't know. It just doesn't. There's a lot of people that are upset by this because it doesn't make any logical sense, and it's just not a really good way to handle bankruptcy.
But these companies are really trustworthy.
The individuals are also really trustworthy too.
I mean, I'm told every day of my life how trustworthy these people are, and yet this seems to conflict with that.
It does, doesn't it? Purdue Pharma, they're just like,
Another amazing thing they did, they got all those videos taken down. Those are really hard to find. Try to find the Purdue Pharmaceutical opioid advertisement videos. They are amazing.
I mean, they were everywhere here.
They were on the Internet Archive, and they managed to get them off of the Internet Archive.
That's a lot of power.
That is a lot of power.
How do they wield that kind of power? This I've just been including these because it's amazing how often we see them, and they just get dumber and dumber.
A Tennessee father's celebratory gunfire for gender reveal prompts 3 schools for lockdowns. So he was just firing his guns into the air for this gender reveal party, and
it wasn't even a party. He got a phone call. They called him from the hospital and told him what the gender was.
He wasn't even there.
No, he had to run outside and fire into the air.
Well, they some schools have some stuff for detecting that, and they're like, you know what, we need to shut down.
Wow.
They also mentioned someone was with him. I guess it wasn't the wife. I guess maybe he couldn't be at the birth because of the vid, right?
Usually, yeah, he must not have been the father, because usually you can have one visitor if you're giving birth.
But there was a woman with him. Oh, no.
It says his child.
Fired the celebratory rounds in the air and the expectant. Oh, right, because they're just finding the gender.
Yeah, she
So they
wasn't giving birth yet.
Can they not tell immediately at the ultrasound?
It depends on how early it is.
Not immediately, but
It takes a while for that to develop.
So between her scream and the gunfire, the rapid gunfire, I guess he emptied the mag, a lot of 911 calls happened. And so they went into lockdown mode.
Not a good look for Appalachia that you immediately just start, woo, and firing a gun in the air when you find out about your kid. But
Although also not surprising.
yeah, it just plays into a certain stereotype about where we live.
we covered this one before, and I was like, oh, more progress has been made with this? No.
I wasn't even sure if this was real. I mean, it seems to be.
Yeah.
There was a breathing tube through the butt could be an alternative to mechanical ventilators. We did some testing on this. There was a story about that, and it wasn't great. The thing still died, but there was some oxygen absorption through the intestine.
Also, in case you weren't aware, this month on September on massivescience.com is butt month.
Oh.
Probably time to get your colonoscopy. You're
They're-
welcome.
They're going to be publishing articles on this evolution, science, and technology surrounding surrounding the butt. Exciting.
Maybe we should find a butt story every week for nonsense, since it's butt month.
All right, Krista, that's your job.
I'll look for it.
This one's also your job because Wendell and I obviously have no idea here. But let me say that
I've not seen this.
my understanding of makeup is that you don't want to be shiny, right?
It depends what look you're going for.
Oh, okay. Well, do you know about the dolphin skin?
No, I haven't heard of this trend.
Oh, wow, Krista. Are you even on TikTok?
No, dolphin skin is trending. Here's what we know and how to achieve it. So usually there's like a matte look where you look kind of like powdered over and your face isn't shiny. And then there's a dewy look, which is kind of like this, where you have a little bit of shine. And I think the last few years, like a more dewy look has been trending because highlighter is really popular. But I've never heard the term dolphin skin.
I think this is more than just dewy. This is supposed to be wet.
This is, yeah, it's supposed to be like
Shiny
Britney
and
Spears in the one dance video where she was covered in like oil.
I don't know which one that was.
That was very popular for a while.
You know what seems to go really well with this look? Amazing cheekbones.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the highlighter thing where they put like the glitter on your cheekbones.
Oh, here's the product.
It's a more refined version of the early 2000s.
What the?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How long,
Makeup's absurd.
how long will that last you?
I don't wear makeup very often. I don't have any on today. But like, for people who are really into it, it doesn't last as long as you'd think.
Well, I don't know how long it would last. I would say that would last a month.
This is a retinol cream. That's not even makeup.
Performance peel.
Oh, that's a...
Engagement challenge.
Look at all these products you have to buy.
Yeah, like that's the thing with like modern skincare routines. So I wash my face and I moisturize it and I use sunscreen. But they try to sell you all this other crap you need on top of it. And it's like, you're never going to look like Jennifer Lopez. She's gorgeous. And like more power to her, but we're just not going to look like her just because you buy these products that are like hundreds of dollars.
Krista, I'm going to look exactly like Jennifer Lopez about 50 years after we're both dead. But there was at least $250 worth of product there.
Oh, way more than that.
Is that a monthly bill?
It depends. So like some of them are very small packages, but some of them you only use like retinol cream. You're only supposed to use like every other night, I think. So like you're not using it every day, but it is still absurd. Not worth it. You do wear sunscreen though.
I thought retinol was like anti-acne.
No, well I think it can be. That's how we first discovered it was useful, but you can also use it as an anti-ager.
Well, it's like Viagra.
Yeah, but for skincare.
Well, engagement challenge. Does anybody here have dolphin skin?
There's someone in the comments who always talks about makeup stuff. They might know. I forgot your username, but if you're here, comment. Wendell, you just get a chill.
Wendell, you've been so quiet about this.
It's Greek to you.
Well, let's talk about San Francisco. And they've done stuff like this before, but wow. it's astonishing.
San Francisco will pay people not to shoot each other's. Cash for criminals. So if you're at risk of shooting somebody, you can not shoot them for cash.
Which I think is mostly determined by you having previously shot someone. You get $300 a month. And here's the crazy rule. You can't shoot anybody. That's obvious, right?
Right.
You also can't get shot.
Oh, that's rough. That
Yeah.
makes it harder.
Tough.
So you're telling me I could conceivably shoot someone and then we could split the cash?
No, Krista, you could not. I'm not going to tell you why you couldn't, but you couldn't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It only applies in certain situations.
Oh.
Yeah. So good luck if you're in San Francisco. Also in California, again, boy, those Californians. It's like a different world, isn't it? And I wonder how long it will be before these people come after the gender reveals because they don't like pink and blue.
The AP says that California seeks gender-neutral displays in large stores. Man, again, Monty Python, they really nailed it early on. It's like they had the hospital scene where she's having birth, and she's like, what's the gender? Is it a boy or a girl? And the doctor's like, it's a little early to be imposing gender roles on it, don't you think?
Is the legislator ruling on this? Or is this
No.
just like an advocacy group?
It's state level, but there is an advocacy group that's pushing for it. At first, I thought maybe it was the mannequins that have boobs, but obviously it's children, right? So it doesn't apply. It's color. You can't say that like this is infant formula for boys, for example, or shampoo for boys. That's a more common one, right? A lot of people will point out that girl shampoo and boy shampoo in a lot of cases are exactly the same, but the girl one costs more.
It's true.
So
That's the same thing with like the skincare costs. You were like, is it really that expensive? And it's yes, and it's marketed aggressively toward women.
They want to display a reasonable selection of items regardless of whether they've been traditionally marketed for either girls or for boys.
I don't think it really requires like well, maybe it does, but like it shouldn't require a state level law about it. But
isn't this one of those things where let's look at all the problems California has?
yeah, is that one we need to be like? They have horrible wildfires ravaging the state. It feels like that's such an inconsequential thing to be worried about right now.
Maybe the wildfires were brought about by gender inequality. You think about that?
I mean, if you count gender reveal parties where they set a fire, maybe.
Or just that one college professor.
I think you mentioned this girl earlier when we were talking about the
Oh, yeah.
like the Jinping crackdown on billionaires, and Jack Ma was maybe the most visible, but only because there is no visibility for this girl. She's gone.
China erases billionaire actress Zhao Wei from history. Hope she's safe in Taiwan or somewhere.
She did leave the country.
Yeah.
I don't know if Taiwan would be safe for her. I can't remember where she went.
Well, she should keep that secret because she's probably not safe.
She is, I think she was the main character in the most successful Chinese television show ever. My Fire Princess, I assume she was the princess.
Probably.
And she went on from that to be like a pop star. And then I think she's sort of like their Kardashians, right?
Yeah. But the thing that blew my mind was the straw that broke the camel's back was hiring a Taiwanese actor for a lead role in one of her films. Like, that was apparently
Oh.
not okay.
So somebody tipped her off, I guess. She's out of the country and she realizes, but they are now memory holing every streaming service that had a show that she was in. It's not there anymore. All the old newspaper articles and stuff like that, they're all being scrubbed.
That has to suck if you were like a writer or a co-star or like did any sort of production on anything she was in. It was like, oh, I have this in my portfolio. And it's like, no, you don't.
Well, I think some of them are still there, but she must never be in the credits.
Oh.
So I
okay.
bet in the opening credits, they had to go in and cut like some frames out of that.
Yeah.
She seems like she's still really young, though, and she is a billionaire. So you know what? I think she'll be okay.
I hope so.
She doesn't look very happy there, though.
That's Chris Wu.
Who's Chris Wu?
Maybe one of her co-stars?
Oh, it's Jack Ma.
Jack Ma is like, oh, I used to be on top of the world, but now they've gotten to me, and it's going to end very badly.
He does have a huge cranium, doesn't he?
It's like his face is a little bit too small for his head in that photo.
Kind of smushed.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I didn't read this one because we were pressed for time today. I have a feeling that if I did read it, I still wouldn't quite grasp it
Yeah.
based on what interesting engineering broke it down to. But it is fascinating.
New physics experiment indicates there's no objective reality. So the experiment is basically if we entangle a bunch of particles, then they should all be the same. If you run an experiment, and then you should know like what state one of the particles is in, but I don't know what the result of that experiment is. Both our realities, can both of our realities converge at some point? And they did the experiment with entangled particles and concluded that no, they can actually diverge. So we can be experiencing a different reality even though we have entangled particles in play.
Isn't that just the particle wave experiment kind of hyped up a little bit?
Maybe, but it's a conjecture that the article points out that that's kind of a conjecture that shows up at dinner parties a lot. Is your objective reality is by definition uncertain, but my objective reality, because I've done the experiment, I know what the result is, and can both of them reconcile so that like if you do the experiment, you'll get the same result as me, but you won't necessarily.
What if there was an alternate universe where the particle wave was always the same?
Oh, there probably isn't a universe where that can be the same now. Or if it is, it diverges, and that's what they're saying is that because it's divergent, long story short, this is another vote in favor of nothing is real and we're in a simulation.
The barrier for me to just start shooting is getting lower and lower. That's hyperbole.
Someone's already reported you. They put you on a list, but it's a different list this time.
It's a better list.
Sometimes I get really, 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 really long emails when you say things like that, and I'm like, I just reply with it was hyperbole, and then they reply with even more paragraphs, and it's like I'm just gonna set this in the forever block.
Well, no, it's the cancel people.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
their warfare. And they cannot accept. See, I don't want to brag about this because
They get even more incensed if you don't reply with paragraphs.
this,
Yeah.
I'm antagonizing them here, but I always do. You can't cancel me. I've crafted my life in such a way that you really can't touch me. How much does that piss you off? And, but you could use this you could get to me through this way. You could go this route. I'll give you that one.
No one's completely untouchable.
Doctor attempted to hire Hell's Angels in order to hit on a witness after his opioid fraud trial. This has nothing to do with the Sackler trial. This was just a doctor who was like, hey, I can prescribe this stuff, and it's basically a license to print money. And then he got, in trouble for that. And then he knew somebody that was in Hell's Angels, and so he called them and said, hey, do you think we could put a hit out? And then that person was like, let me put you in touch with my brother, who was not his brother, but an actual FBI agent.
You probably should have known. Do you remember when the Rolling Stones hired the Hells Angels for the security at that concert that they did? They killed a guy. And that was just a concert. That wasn't even an assassination. It always cracks me up when the Hells Angels do, they'll help out with sick kids and do rallies and stuff like that. But we know what you're up to. Maybe they aren't anymore. I have a feeling they kind of are. And Krista, I think you feel very, very strongly. You're someone, of all the women I know, I think you're one of the strongest about unwanted advances from men.
Yes, I don't like them, and I don't have any qualms about letting people know I don't like them.
Will you throw objects at them?
If they are too persistent, yes.
Will you spray your ink at them?
Yes, absolutely, in their eyes.
Well, then you might be an octopus.
Female octopuses observed throwing stuff at males harassing them. As you should. Don't be polite to someone harassing you.
This is really interesting because apparently the males sometimes, but not always, throw stuff back. So they know what they're doing.
You're ugly anyway. Look how short your tentacles are. But it is kind of the way of nature, though, that's like the women aren't always interested. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nature gets a little rapey sometimes. But the octopuses are well known for being, a higher level, right? They're
really intelligent. They can use
so.
tools.
Yeah. You think dolphins do this? We should study the dolphins and see how they feel about it.
Oh, that will not go well.
No, the dolphins are rapey.
We should build like a Jaws version of a really ugly male dolphin, and then send him down there to try to pick up on the girls.
They might just be fascinated by it's like, wow, you're I've never seen anybody that's so horribly disfigured.
You've been through a lot. You must have some stories to tell. This is just a beautiful illustration of the two sides of the world. There's like Russia, China, India, Middle East, who have one way of feeling about this type of thing, and then the Western world, which is 180 degrees different. How are we ever going to reconcile this?
Russia sushi chain apologizes for ad featuring black man. This is in the
Well,
Moscow Times.
Don't know anything. Chris, did you read this article?
No, I did not.
What's wrong with this ad?
Is there some sort of subtle racism at play?
No.
One way or the other?
Do you see it? What is it? It's just three very attractive Russian-looking women and a black guy. Everybody's happy. They're all enjoying
They're eating sushi. I don't see anything wrong with it at first glance.
Why would the sushi chain apologize for this?
So the answer is, you're right, Krista. You can't see it because there's nothing overtly racist about the image. It turns out the Russians just didn't care for the black man being in it.
Oh, see, like I was hoping that wasn't it. I was like, is there something else where like some sort of stereotype that I'm not aware of over here? But no, it is just the horrible reason.
Thanks to the magic of the internet, we know that these things are happening now, or otherwise we never would before.
And it got pretty ugly there. Publishing the social media profiles of the women that took part in the advertising and are writing negative reviews on all review sites. So it's kind of a review bomb.
Everyone should enjoy sushi. Did people? So one of our chat people has never had sushi. Did he ever try it? I think he tried it at like a buffet. You got to go to an actual sushi restaurant.
Krista, that's Peepers. You know how Peepers is.
Yeah, Peepers is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know that he even watches the news. He
Peepers
just watches the stream.
I'll say this: if Peepers was an octopus, he'd have a lot of objects thrown at him.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go with the lead-in for our next story, which is if you've only ever tried buffet sushi. It's a lot like Only Ever Trying this ice cream.
Yeah.
I
That's a good lead in.
I don't know. Buffet sushi is like a very bland, common flavor, in my opinion. I think this has got to be outrageous, right? Here's before we do the headline. What do you think the sugar content here is? You think it's really
It's
high?
off the charts.
Because it's got to be mostly sweet, right?
It's off the charts.
I wouldn't think so, actually. Because there's
Really?
some sort of traditional Italian dish that's like what this is, but it's Parmesan cheese.
Well, all I can think is we need to try it. Sausage toast, please order that.
I'm sure we can find it at the store.
After selling out in just an hour, Kraft macaroni and cheese ice cream is available again.
It's a nice color.
Yeah. I would try it. I don't know if I'd get like a giant gallon of it, but I'd try it.
I might try it, but I don't think it would be particularly satisfying.
Well, you definitely wouldn't buy a gallon of it. Chris said you can only buy it by the pint, and it's
Oh.
$12.
Ugh.
Whoa.
They had 6,000 because they thought that maybe people wouldn't want that because obviously it's a gimmick, but they sold out in 1 hour.
There was an episode of Tasting History where the guy made, like I said, that traditional Parmesan ice cream, and he had the same expectation we did, where he was like, "This is going to be gross." He took a bite and he was like, "Oh, so maybe it's good."
But it's completely savory.
I guess so, yeah. Like there's a little bit. It's kind of like the sugar salt thing, like with pretzels and chocolate. I guess it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, but where's the sugar? Did you say there was no sugar?
I think there is some sugar, but it's not
Oh,
like
okay.
overwhelmingly sweet.
I wonder how that would that all separate when it's in the freezer? How stable is that?
I'm sure they use some sort of like emulsifier or something in it. I don't know. If you've tried it, let us know in the comments.
Well, this is just a feel-good dog story, and God, these are always great, and the pictures in this one
He's
are
so
just
cute.
magnificent.
Stray Dog visits Hyundai dealership every day and then gets quote-unquote hired as a mascot. That dog's name? Tucson Prime. This dealership is somewhere that you wouldn't think, too.
Tuscan. Oh, that's his name. Thought it was in Arizona.
Is it Tuscan or Tucson?
I think it's Tucson.
Oh, I don't know. So there he
No,
is. They're
no, I
doing
don't
some promo photos. I don't know if I was going to buy that car if I'd want to know there was a dog butt in it before I bought it.
That just makes me more likely.
It's
to buy it.
okay on leather, but not okay on fabric.
This is a great ID card too. What a great pic! This dog is so photogenic.
Yeah, he like sits still for like almost every photo I have of Rue. She's just moving around. She's a blur.
What is Hyundai Prime?
That's the name of the dealership.
Oh, okay.
So his last name is Prime because he belongs to the dealership. Oh, he's shaking a hand of a businessman. He thinks he's people.
That's the best one.
That is the best one on the internet. No one knows you're a dog.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Look at the bow tie.
Oh, I didn't see that.
What a great dog. Wonder what they do with him at night. Somebody take him home? Does it say that?
Probably.
Oh, he's got a lot of ties.
Well, yeah, it's a business office. That's a good boy.
You think there's a lot of people who show up at the dealership just to hang out with that guy, and they know they're not buying a car?
Probably not a
Come
ton.
on, buddy.
Probably not.
Yu-Gi-Oh! That is an insanely popular card game. I kind of got an exposure to that when I was watching the Chris Chan documentary because he was way into that, and you see like all the places he was banned from.
It was popular when I was in high school. I had some friends who played it.
But is it popular enough to be on this level? I kind of think no. Outside of Japan and the U.S., I wonder what the percentage of people playing this are. Is it huge?
Probably not.
I wouldn't think so anymore, but maybe.
Like, can you
Engagement challenge.
imagine one of those South African countries that has like the Olympic gold team for whatever, and it's like, all right, we're gonna add this as a gold thing, and they're just like, what?
Yu-Gi-Oh! Team. That's like that story about the guy who got in the ski jump just because no one else from Great Britain tried it.
Didn't he break his legs or something?
Oh.
He did very poorly.
Yeah.
He was not ready for that. But you wouldn't have to worry about it with this Olympic sport.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan petition to make the game an Olympic sport hits 11,000 signatures.
Also, isn't that a collectible game? How would you make that tournament fair? Do you get to bring your own deck?
It'll be like Magic the Gathering, where you can't use any good decks.
Do they give you like every possible card and you craft your deck? Is that how that would work?
So crazy.
That's a good question. There's a lot of questions I have about this that the article probably doesn't answer.
But if I'm the Olympic Committee, I sit down with these people and I say, okay, Olympic sports are supposed to be fair, and this is just a marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
This is not really a game.
I wonder, can you imagine, like, you know how, like, when you watch an Olympic event and the announcer clearly doesn't know anything about the sport? Can you imagine the announcers for Yu-Gi-Oh?
I mean, if they're going to do that, they might as well do Hearthstone or.
Yeah, that'd be easier to do.
Olympic gaming, like video gaming. That'd be interesting.
But also, it's going to be hilarious because they begin there with like their really low voices, you know, so the athletes aren't disturbed. It's like, he's tapping the mana.
That card is now out of play.
Coming up on the 10-minute mark of this match, Cyber Bear 42 solidly in the lead. And our final story also shows this massive divide between the two worlds that we have now. The woke world that we live in and this world that Xi Jinping lives in and controls.
China bans quote-unquote sissy men from TV in new crackdown. So a whole bunch of reality TV shows were canceled and new guidelines were sent for TV shows, and they want men to be more masculine. And again, this is that whole, like I was mentioning it earlier, it's like we need more children. You guys are going to have more children. Oh yeah, national rejuvenation.
What is their guidelines for sissy, I wonder?
Well, so there's a colloquial, they call them Nyang Pao, and that translates into girly guns. Although guns, do you think they meant guys there? Is that a typo?
Maybe. But they couldn't you argue showing any sort of emotion would be considered feminine or girly?
Well,
So
here's how I'm reading between the lines. Girly guy means K-pop star, right?
Oh,
Oh,
probably.
maybe.
That's what they don't like. Because it's super popular, and a lot of their young people are following that trend, and they're like, oh,
What if they're going to replace those reality shows with old U.S. Westerns?
you don't want that either. I mean, that's hard capitalism. You can't have that.
Well, so I'm thinking things like Lord of the Rings, because the men in that, they're manly in that they do like the combat stuff, but they also like cry a lot. They kiss each other's foreheads. Like, is that considered girly in their definition? I need answers.
Maybe we want to pattern our society on the orcs. They were
They're just
very
brutal.
masculine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
No
there,
emotions, just fight all the time.
there are those kidney camps.
Now, if you're a TV star and you get this letter and it's like, oh, sorry, you're done, do you try to really like butch up and become masculine and get back on TV, or do you embrace this lifestyle?
If you've only ever made money being like a celebrity like that, you'd probably try to change your brand, right?
Is there? I'm trying to think. Can we come up with an example or two of actors who have had enough range to do both of those?
What's his name? The British guy who was Batman. He can transform his body in any way he wants. He's incredible.
Oh,
Christian Bale.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He can play a really gritty dude or a very effeminate dude.
Or, Holocaust survivor.
I was trying to think the guy that played Truman Capote. I can't remember his name, but he had some roles where he was really kind of butch.
I bet Gary Oldman could do. Gary Oldman from The Fifth Element.
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
That's a hell. We're gonna have a lot of comments this week pointing out actors who've done that.
Engagement challenge.
Now here's a question though. Think about this. This is gonna make the gay LGBTQ advocacy people super angry, right?
Yeah,
Will they pressure Apple?
they should. I mean, that's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out, especially with Tim Cook in charge.
Listen, LGBTQ plus community, let's get this started.
Maybe Tim Cook sees the writing on the wall, and that's why he sold all his shares.
Oh, right. Tim Cook's gay, right?
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
gonna get out.
that's a tough spot.
We don't ever talk about that. Like, he's never really confirmed. I
But
don't
doesn't
think.
he have like a husband or a boyfriend or something?
I don't. He's really cagey about it.
I'm pretty sure I'm not throwing any stones here. I think it's acceptable these days, especially in his world. But he would be in a tough spot there if that became, a big media point, which is why we should make it that. We need to come up with a good phrase for LGBTQ against China.
I'm afraid that all of this ends with some sort of like preemptive thing on Taiwan, and I don't want that because Taiwan is amazing.
I think it ends with a lot of really feminine kidneys being on the market.
Also very unfortunate.
Yeah, sad. A sad note to end on in the nonsense section. Is that wait? That was the last story. That was the last
That's
story.
it.
That was it for this week, guys. Send us some weird ice cream, or we'll try to find it.
Or orange sodas to put in the bracket.
Oh right. I'll keep an eye out for that as well.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.